Homeland Security agents converging on the home of Sean Diddy Combs.
Now, officials confirm the raid is tied to a investigation.
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
I think Beyonce is a brilliant artist. I also think that Beyonce is a hypocrite. Lyrics of liberation don't pay the people who write them.
Drama unfolding in Hollywood right now, and it's got everyone talking. Apparently, Diddy's been making headlines lately because Homeland Security paid him a visit, and word on the street is he's been singing like a canary, spilling secrets left and right. Now, that's got a lot of A-listers hitting the panic button, including none other than Queen Bey herself. She is reportedly sweating bullets after getting linked to Diddy's legal troubles. And why wouldn't she be? Because if the rumors are to be believed, her hubby, Jay-Z, might just be next in line for some unwanted attention from the feds. Now, we all know Jay-Z and Diddy go way back, like besties for life kind of back, but according to some insiders, their bond runs deeper than just music industry pals. There's allegedly some shady stuff involving mistreatment of women that they've been mixed up in for years, and they might not be able to wiggle out of it this time. See, as it turns out, the feds have been looking at them for long, and they have been looking at them hard for a very long time. If there's one thing about the feds, they never make their moves until they've got their facts right, and they have managed to build an airtight case against their suspects with no wriggle room. It often takes months or years for the feds to build their case, but once they arrest someone and bring charges against them, then it's over. They have a conviction rate of more than 95%, and that should tell you all that the feds don't play when they make a move on a suspect. And in Diddy's case, the feds have been looking at him for at least 11 years now, because back in 2013, we found out they've been questioning people about Diddy's alleged interest in young boys. A court document from a case in 2013 noted that during a debriefing session with federal investigators, James Rosemond, the music manager turned kingpin, was reportedly questioned about the sex preferences of entertainers, including whether Sean Diddy Combs was having sex relationships with underage boys, according to a U.S. District Court filing. A prosecutor then asked about entertainers' EX preferences, including, but not only, Sean Combs having sex relationships with underage boys. So if they have been looking at Diddy for that long, then best believe they've been looking at Jay-Z for that long as well. And it did not just start with because of Cassie's lawsuit. Interestingly, the knowledge of Jay-Z going down with Diddy is not just fan speculations, because people with reliable intel have claimed there is allegedly also an open investigation of Jay-Z by the feds. And as you all have probably heard, Diddy got busted by Homeland Security a couple of days ago, which tells us the investigation into Diddy is at its peak, and supposedly so is Jay-Z. Now, apparently Beyonce's freaking out behind the scenes. Word on the street from some insider is that she's low-key terrified because all this drama could mean she's about to lose everything she's poured into her marriage. And let's be real, losing your rep in Hollywood, that's like a nightmare scenario. And you know what's making the gossip mill go wild? Rumors that Beyonce's thinking about hitting the eject button on her marriage to Jay-Z. This is reportedly why Beyonce's pushing out her hair care products and cranking out a new album at record speed. And while sure, the rollout was in the works, it seems she's fast-tracking things to stack up some serious cash before Jay-Z's alleged shady dealings with Diddy hit the fan. Blogger Storm and Rose chiming in, confirming that Beyonce's well aware of the storm on the horizon, and she's hustling to stay ahead of it all. Word on the street is they're already living separate lives, and we might just be on the brink of witnessing one of the biggest Hollywood divorces yet, because Jay-Z's reportedly next in line to have his skeletons rattled out of the closet.
And part of the reason why they're already living separate lives, and we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood, is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed. He won't be able to stop this, and she knows it, and he knows it too.
Now, what happens next? Well, according to Storm, it's going to be a whirlwind. Once Jay-Z's exposed for his murky past, we could very well see Beyonce filing for divorce. And while she might not spill all the tea in an interview, you can bet their publicist's going to whip up some PR magic, painting a picture of a couple who've drifted apart but built a beautiful life together. But honestly, is anyone really shocked? I mean, there have been whispers for ages that their relationship was hanging on by a Some say it's always been more of a business arrangement than a fairy tale romance. They stuck together because it made financial sense and kept their status as the ultimate power couple intact.
So remember, your relationship was a business relationship, financial, to get to the top, to become billionaires.
But now, Now it looks like that stability might be crumbling. With all this drama swirling around Jay-Z and their marriage, Beyoncé's probably feeling the heat like never before. And here's the thing, it's not just Jay-Z's closet that's got some skeletons. Beyoncé's got her own share of secrets too. Sure, Beyoncé's a legend and all, but let's not pretend her journey's been all sunshine and rainbows. She's had her fair share of drama, just like everyone else. There's been rumors floating around about Beyoncé messing with other women in the industry. Take Tierra Mari, for example. Back in 2005, a young Tierra Mari scored a deal with Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records. She was not just talented, but also stunning, and she was only 17. Under Jay-Z's wing, Tierra dropped Make Her Feel Good from her first album, and it was an instant hit. And come on, what's better than having Jay-Z as your project's dad and being crowned the princess of Def Jam Records? Tierra was living the dream, no doubt. Also, around the same time, you've got a young Rihanna and Nayo signing up with Def Jam Records. Now, Tierra Mari was already the official princess of the label, stealing all the attention. Being an immigrant from Barbados, Rihanna was kinda in the shadows compared to her more promising label mate. But everything flipped when Queen Bey decided she was vibing more with Rihanna. Suddenly, the label dynamic shifted and Tierra got the L.A. Reid spilled the beans in his memoir, saying that initially they thought Tierra was the bigger star between her and Rihanna. But Queen Bee stepped in, made them reconsider, and signed Rihanna. Reid said, "We had an in-house company showcase and Beyoncé happened to be there with Jay-Z, Tierra Marie. Rihanna, a four-girl group called Black Butterfly and Neo performed. At the label, we thought Tierra Marie would be a big star. We spent more time on her, did more work on her, paid more attention to her. A bell went off for me, however, when after the showcase, Beyoncé came up to me and said, 'That Rihanna girl, she's a b-.'" After a little nudge from Beyoncé, the execs decided to give Rihanna a closer look. Fast forward to 2006, and they hit up Tierra Mari with a call, not a fancy letter, just a call, probably made by some staff. And what for? Well, nobody really knows. Imagine getting the without a proper heads up from a guy you saw as a father figure. Tierra spilled the tea, saying Jay-Z himself never bothered to give her the news. She said, "Jay-Z didn't call me to tell me bye-bye." If things played out differently, Tierra could have been today's Rihanna, or a big Tierra, considering her undeniable talent. But alas, her peak fame window was from 2005 to 2006. Since that day and Beyoncé's say-so, she's been hustling as a struggling artist with just one hit to her name. Another artist that was allegedly also silenced by Beyoncé was Blue Cantrell. Back in the early 2000s, she was a big name in R&B, giving Beyoncé a run for her money. Tracks like Hit 'Em Up Style and Breathe were climbing charts everywhere. Blue was on fire. But here's the kicker. After years of rocking the scene, she vanished from the public eye. Given her obvious talent, record labels were practically fighting over her. Eventually, Blue decided to roll with Arista Records. She dropped her first single, Hit 'Em Up Style, in April 2001, and it blew up. Like, seriously blew up. The song not only snagged the #2 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, but also scored her a Grammy nom for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Blue Cantrell was riding the wave of success back then. In the same year, her debut album, So Blue, went platinum, and things kept looking up till 2003 when she dropped her second album, Bittersweet. That one included the hit Breathe featuring Sean Paul, earning her a second Grammy nom, this time for Best R&B Album. Now here's where it gets interesting. Amid all her achievements, Blue had these persistent rumors flying around, saying she was in some intense feud with Beyoncé. Now Beyoncé was just kicking off her solo career with Dangerously in Love, and she was in the early days of her thing with Jay-Z. Blue, on the other hand, was tight with Jay and dropping R&B chart toppers around the same time. You can guess how the gossip started. Whenever folks asked Blue about her and Jay-Z, she always shot it down, saying there was nothing going on. Although she did spill the beans to Wendy Williams once, admitting she had a big crush on him. She said, "I still have a crush on him now." She spilled, "I don't care who he's dating, I always had a crush on him." It seemed Beyoncé wasn't too thrilled about Blue having a thing for her man, Jay-Z. And Blue didn't exactly pour cold water on the feud. Things got even spicier when she pointed out similarities between her songs and Beyoncé's. In an interview with The Guardian, she mentioned how the music video for Beyoncé and Jay-Z's Bonnie and Clyde seemed a lot like the promo for her song Round Up, which came out first.
Unleash the flutes on them, guru.
And Beyoncé? Well, she threw some fuel on the fire too. In the song Signs, she drops this line about being in love with a Sagittarius, Jay-Z, and being hurt by a Pisces, Blue. This didn't sit well with Blue, and she said, maybe she's trying to do it to get press, but I want to make her understand if she goes there with me, it's the wrong move. She needs to understand what she's doing and what she's getting into. I'm a master at singing. The drama didn't stop there. Blue Cantrell wasn't letting Beyoncé off the hook. After catching wind of the whispers, she fired back, accusing Beyoncé of ripping her off. The heat got turned up when Blue heard Beyoncé's single Baby Boy and thought it was way too similar to her own chart-topping hit, Breathe. Both tunes were edgy R and B jams featuring Sean Paul, and Blue wasn't having it. She straight up complained about it, saying, Beyoncé is talented and beautiful, and I'm a fan, but she has a song out which is very similar to mine. She uses words that are in the hook of my song, and if she's that talented, she shouldn't have to copy someone else. Her song Baby Boy has the exact word breathe in the hook. She continued her rant saying, she's ripping off, but there is no animosity because I'm a very positive person. However, I'm a little disappointed because she is established and didn't have to do that, but she won't get away with plagiarizing me because I'm a #1 artist. Now here's the wild turn in the story. It wasn't long after the feud, according to TMZ, Blue Cantrell had this bizarre episode. They reported she was running through the streets in Santa Monica, ranting about people trying to her. The whole thing went down around 2 a.m., and witnesses said she was going on about someone giving her gas. It got so intense that someone had to call the cops. When the officers showed up, Blue pulled the "Do you know who I am?" card and even referred to herself as a one-hit wonder. The cops decided to take her to a nearby hospital for a checkup. After that incident, it's like Blue vanished into thin air, while Beyoncé just kept on slaying with her tours. And then there's the song Stealing Saga. Tiffany Red spilled the tea about this and shined a spotlight on Beyoncé for allegedly taking credit for songs she didn't actually pen. For those of you who don't know, Tiffany is basically the behind-the-scenes powerhouse who's penned hits for some major players in the music biz, like Jennifer Hudson, Fantasia, Tamar Braxton, and even wrote Zendaya's banger, Replay. Plus, she's got Cassie's back too. She went all in on an interview not too long ago, calling out Diddy for how he treated her, and Tiffany's not the type to stay silent. She's on a mission, and this year seems to be all about laying bare the not-so-pretty truths of the music industry. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, unfair practices. Tiffany's been spilling the tea on how songwriters often get the short end of the stick. You see, when a songwriter pens a tune for an artist, the artist often snags a chunk of the publishing, even if they didn't lift a finger on the writing front. And guess who's one of the poster kids for this whole shindig? Queen Bey herself. Not only does she nab credit for songs she didn't whip up, but she's also raking in a hefty chunk of the royalties. And it's eating into the pockets of the real wordsmiths behind the tunes. But here's the thing. Beyoncé's been able to pull off this slick move because she's got folks signing NDAs left, right, and center whenever they hop on board to work with her. That means they're basically sworn to secrecy. No griping allowed. I mean, let's be real. Who's gonna call out Beyoncé? Now, Tiffany Red might not have teamed up with Beyoncé on a project, but she's definitely got something to say about Queen B's game. See, Tiffany's fed up with the whole music scene, and she's not holding back. Why? Well, because the game's changed. Songs aren't flying off the shelves like they used to. Nowadays, it's all about streaming. And streaming isn't exactly lining artists' pockets with gold. It's more like a trickle of spare change. And who's feeling the pinch the most? The songwriters. These folks used to be rolling in the dough, but now they're barely scraping by. Tiffany's had enough of seeing her fellow wordsmiths getting the short end of the stick, and she's not afraid to name names. After Jay-Z threw some shade at the Grammys for snubbing Beyoncé, Tiffany decided it was time to speak her mind. She straight up called out Beyoncé, saying maybe she'll snag that coveted Album of the Year Grammy when she starts giving songwriters their due and stops swiping their publishing rights. Rumor has it that's a hefty 15% to 30%. Now, this comment from Tiffany is like opening Pandora's box because there's a whole lot to unpack here. Some folks out here are scratching their heads wondering why Beyoncé hasn't snagged that Album of the Year Grammy, especially with bangers like Lemonade in her repertoire. But if word on the street is true and Beyoncé's playing fast and loose with her songwriters' paychecks, well, that could be a major roadblock. And then there's the writing on the wall, or lack thereof. See past Album of the Year winners like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Adele, and Bruno Mars. They're all known known for crafting their own tunes. They're songwriting wizards, and Beyoncé, not so much. So it's not totally out of left field to think that might be factoring into the Grammy snubs. Tiffany also didn't hold back in her latest live video. She had a lot more to say about Beyoncé. She's basically saying, hey, we all call it Beyoncé's internet, right? So shouldn't we be able to talk to the queen about updating her business practices? Tiffany's pointing out how the music industry has changed a lot since Beyoncé started out. Publishing just doesn't bring in as much cash as it used to, especially if you're not the one writing the hit singles. And every percentage of that publishing money matters a lot these days. But despite all that, Beyoncé still takes her cut. Tiffany's saying, hey, wouldn't it be nice to see some changes? A lot of songwriters and producers agree with me. She's basically asking for songwriters to get paid better for their work.
A queen to modernize her business and pay songwriters a livable wage. It's not too much to ask. She made $579 million off that Renaissance tour. Ask the writers how much they made.
Tiffany kept going, and she was talked about how she heard Beyoncé's song My Power in the car, and the lyrics got to her. They're all about not letting anyone take your power, but then she's thinking about all the songwriters who've written for Beyoncé, whose power in a way. She cited Break My Soul as an example. And how many songwriters' souls have been broken because Beyoncé takes their publishing, which is basically all they've got. Watching Beyoncé get even more famous and richer off the lyrics they wrote, but the writers are left with nothing. She also mentioned freedom and says it's not really freedom if you're not getting what you're owed. Tiffany respects Beyoncé's talent, no doubt, but she's calling her out for being a bit of a hypocrite. All these lyrics about liberation, but the people who write them aren't getting paid fairly.
Break my soul, you won't break my soul. And then I think about how many songwriters' souls have been broken as this woman has taken the publishing, which is the only thing that they have. They're publishing, in a big chunk too.
So Tiffany kept going, explaining why she called out Beyoncé. She basically said Beyoncé is like the Michael Jackson of our generation. You know, huge influence and all. She talked to someone whose friend worked on Beyoncé's Renaissance record, which is a fan favorite. Turns out the song was written 6 years before Beyoncé got it, but she still took 25% of it. Then she mentioned another writer who contributed to one of our favorite songs, but his credit wasn't right and his business got messed up. Beyoncé even went on tour with that song last year, using someone else's vocals without giving them proper credit. Tiffany pointed out that people who work for Beyoncé don't speak out because they're all under NDAs. That's just how she operates, keeping everyone silent.
The reason why people who work for Beyoncé don't talk is because they're all on NDAs. Because that's also how she works. She silences people so that nobody can speak.
And it's not the first time someone's called her out for this stuff. Kellis did something similar in 2022, claiming Beyoncé used parts of her song Milkshake without permission in the Renaissance track Energy. Kellis took to Instagram to express her thoughts. She started with a somewhat passive-aggressive comment about Beyoncé, acknowledging that sampling is common in the industry. However, Kellis emphasized that the real issue is the lack of common decency in not seeking her permission for the sample.
Number one, it's not even like I'm a human being, so I get pissed off and I get ticked off, right? I'm an artist, so I am, as Erica said, I'm sensitive about my.
As a Black female artist, Kellis pointed out the shared experiences and networks within the industry, making it clear that it wouldn't be challenging for Beyoncé to contact her directly. Kellis asserted her knowledge of what she owns and what was taken from her in the past, referencing instances of stolen publishing and swindled rights that she believes occur frequently in the music industry. Kellis also took humorous shots at Chad Hugo, describing him as an amoeba and implying he lacks a backbone. She contrasted this with Pharrell, suggesting that he should know better. In a subsequent video, Kellis highlighted Pharrell's hypocrisy by referencing an interview he did with Variety, where he discussed artist rights and the importance of fair deals. Kellis claimed that when she was signed to Pharrell, they shared the same manager, Rob Walker, who received writing credits on her records despite not contributing lyrics. She insinuated that this arrangement could have led to Walker continuing to receive royalties from her music, a situation that she found unacceptable.
So just to add to my thought, here's the issue, okay? This is not about.
So that's Tiffany's take on things, really laying it all out there. She's calling Beyoncé out and saying she needs to listen up and make some changes. And you know, Tiffany might have a point. Maybe Beyoncé's struggles to win Album of the Year at the Grammys have something to do with all this behind-the-scenes stuff. It's no secret that Beyoncé has a ton of Grammy wins, and some people speculate it's because of her connections, like Jay-Z being on the voting committee. But even with all that, some folks still won't give her that top award. Maybe it's because of how she handles things in the industry industry. It's interesting how everyone kind of knows about it, but songwriters still line up to work with her. It's like, why put yourself through that if you know what you're getting into? Sure, having Beyonce's name on your resume is a big deal, but it doesn't pay the bills. It's a tough call for songwriters, you know? Like, is the fame and prestige worth the grind and the lack of recognition? It seems like some people in the industry are willing to overlook their principles just to be associated with Beyonce. At the end of the day, though, it's their call, and they can't really blame anyone else if they end up getting shortchanged. They knew the deal going in. So, from accusations of stealing ideas to shutting down other artists, her track record isn't exactly spotless, just like her hubby. And if all these rumors end up being true, well, buckle up because we might be in for the scandal of the century. I want to hear what you guys make of all this craziness. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next video.